Hello YouTube, how's it going, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing an overall tier list of the fruit in GPO. Now this list is not exclusive to PvP or not exclusive to PvE. So some fruits, if you're basing it on PvP standards or PvE standards solely, placements will be different. So they would differ quite drastically if you're talking about the fruit in just PvP standards and in just PvE standards. Now, quickly before we start, I'm going to go over all the tiers, explain why I listed these fruits in these specific orders. I'm going to explain why the tiers are how they are, and I'm going to explain to you how I'm going to rank each one of these fruits. So the first thing that you guys can see at the very bottom here is trash. So these fruit are, for the better purpose of this explanation, not worth it. There's no real reason to buy eat any of these fruits because there is better alternatives out there, and it's probably better just to be fruitless. The next one is mid. So mid being like fruits that just aren't good enough. They're not good enough in order to compete with other fruits. And honestly, if you can get your hands on any better fruit than these, like they're okay, they're just not amazing. Now the next list up is good. Good is actually a very sought after fruits that are actually interesting to eat. Like they actually provide you value depending on their PvP or PvE ability. So good fruits is where I would start recommending you give people these type of fruits. Now the next thing is great. Great, this is the category you're going to see a lot of fruits that are either really good at PvP or really good at PvE and just not good enough at the other one. Like they're okay. Like for instance, a fruit will be really good at PvP, but they're like okay at PvE. So they'll be in the great category. And next is excellent. Excellent is a category where the fruits are either extraordinarily good at both categories. So like they're both really good at PvE and PvP. They have like a lot of potential in these categories. And lastly, I made a separate tier just for the top fruits I believe in the game that you should eat. If you have any of the other fruits below them, I think you should sacrifice any of those fruits to eat any of these top fruits in the game. All right, here. So we're starting with trash tier. So I think the first one obviously is Suke. Suke provides zero benefit to the user, makes you go invisible. It has almost zero, I think pretty much zero PvE potential. It has for PvP you can pull off some weird things, but I think it mostly relies on weapons. So the fruit's not providing you very much. Especially when you go invisible and they still can technically see you, so it's kind of it's not a very well made fruit. Next one is Kilo. Kilo could technically go up a tier because like I know there's like this cheese in order to like defeat dungeons, like beat dungeons. There's this way of doing it. I understand people will make that argument, but overall it's just a bad fruit in general. Doesn't provide much damage, doesn't provide much abilities that you can't already like use. Like for instance, its levitating ability kind of doesn't even work correctly. Like when it comes down to using it against bosses, it provides you almost no benefit because most of the time you're not even doing damage with anything else other than your weapons, so you have to get close to them anyways. So like realistically, it's just it's like this fruit that doesn't have enough, like it needs more moves in order for it to be better kind of thing. So that's why Kilo's in trash. And the next one is Spin. Now Spin is very you can make the same argument but for PvP. Technically Spin, there's like this weird up tilt combo thing with it, which is good, right? Which is like good, but the problem is you have it's a one trick pony, and like I'm not even sure if the combo's true. So like you have one ability, realistically you fly around, which is kind of neat. The only like flying ability really in the trash tier, but realistically there's just better fruits out there. Now, the next one on the list is Horo. Now, initially I was going to put Horo up. I was going to put it in the good tier, but then I was thinking about it to myself. I was like, well, it's decent for PvP if you're good. Like, for instance, Funk Novalu, shout out to his channel. He's actually very good with Horo. But that's a rare case, right? He is definitely the exception to the rule and not the rule itself. So when it comes down to this fruit in general, like classifying it between the two, it can be good, not great. It can be good in PvP, but it's not good in PvE at all. Not good in PvE at all. I don't like it. I don't think it's good in PvE. It takes too much time to takes too much stamina, and our stamina recently got cut in half with the update. So like the regeneration on it just makes this fruit not that great. And it's unfortunate because I really like Horo, but I would recommend new players not to pick this up. The next one on the list is Gomu. Gomu has the exact opposite problem of Horo. Gomu, for instance, is actually pretty decent when it comes down to grinding. So it's actually good to give a new player this if they're just grinding. However, it's not great at grinding, right? It's good, it's not great at grinding. And the thing is, it's not good at PvP. It's really not good at PvP. So like when you like balance the two out, you really realize that it doesn't belong in good, it belongs in mid. So that's where this is. Now the next category is good. So these are fruits that I believe are actually genuinely good. I think that these are good at either, or like really good at PvP or really good at PvE and bad at the others, or like just like good in both categories kind of thing. So we'll see. The first one on the list is marrow. So marrow is actually an insane fruit. I think it's like top 3 best PvP fruits in the entire game. Like 100% the best 3 fruits in the entire game. There's one problem with it. It is abysmal for PvE. Like, it is not good for PvE. It's a little bit better than Horo, but it's not good for PvE. It is extraordinarily good for PvP. So much so that you could make an argument for great, but definitely not excellent or best fruit in the game. But yeah, anyways, nonetheless, this is our first fruit here. The next one is berry, right after marrow, actually. Berry is actually interesting because you can actually grind dungeons with your friends with berry. It's decent-ish in PvP, but the problem is it doesn't have that damage output, so you're relying on your swords or your fighting styles a lot when you're using this. And like I said, it's decent for grinding, so it's not too bad. Yeah, there's a Baratier method that actually like levels you up quite a bit with it. So this fruit definitely belongs in good. And another fruit in the good category is definitely Bomb. Bomb is a fantastic fruit. I think it's a very, very good fruit. I recommend all brand new players to pick up this fruit. I think this is the fruit to go to when you are brand new. It's like an SP or maybe a dark root in order to get it. People give these out to brand new players all the time. Very, very important that somebody picks up the Bomb fruit because you will be able to get the max very, very quickly. Now, the next tier, which is the most controversial tier, in my opinion, but I think at the end of the day, it makes a lot of sense why I'm going to be putting these fruits here. Because, reminder, I'm going to say this again. This is PvP and PvE. When you guys are thinking of what is tiered, where does things go, this is the overall general fruit. How it does in PvE and PvP, Krakens, dungeons, PvP, like just general, the general like freedom in the world. Does it have a movement ability? Can it fly? Is it good at ship farming? Like all of these things are considered when we're talking about these fruits. So just don't get upset as soon as you see these fruits. So the first one on the list is Yomi. Yomi is very, very good in PvP. It is excellent in PvP, right? Excellent in PvP. But the problem is in PvE, it sucks. It really does suck. It's abysmal in PvE, but it is excellent in PvP. That's why it is in the great category, not the excellent category. The next one on the list, I think, is going to come to a surprise, or no surprise to people, is definitely Ito. Ito, for instance, is something that, all right, Ito, for instance, is extraordinarily good in PvP, but everybody knows it's abysmal in PvE. That's why it's in great category, not in the excellent category. And also, it's not a Logia, so it kind of has like that little like it has a little bit more trouble when it comes down to like the long game of PvP. But normally, you're like infinite comboing people to death, so it doesn't really matter. The next one on the list is obviously going to be, I say obviously, but I think a lot of people are going to hate on me for this. The next one is Paw. Now, don't freak out. Don't dislike the video. Don't leave the video. I'm going to tell you guys why I believe Paw is here. Now, you're thinking to yourself, what about the other fruit, right? And look, there's a few fruits that you can make the argument against and you can make the argument for. Paw is an excellent fruit. It's very good for movement, right? It's very good for movement. You can teleport from islands to islands. Very good for PvP. Very good for bounty farming. Like extraordinarily good for that kind of stuff. But the issue generally is that it does not have any PvE presence. Now you can say, oh well, if you hold your ultimate, there is no boss in the game that will just sit there. Well, especially in dungeons, you're gonna sit there and you're gonna hold your ult while you have the Pika bosses and stuff. Like it doesn't work, right? You absolutely need other people helping you in order to defeat dungeons. And maybe you're gonna say there is methods with Paw. I know about them. There is literally 2 methods specifically where Paw can like do dungeons. But the problem with those is it's inconsistent. It is very inconsistent. So that's why I think it's not that great in PvE. However, in PvP, it is an extraordinarily strong fruit. So that's why it is in the great category instead of the excellent category. Also, these fruits in the great category can be changed a bunch. I think it's dependent on the user. Like if you were really good with Yomi, you could put Yomi above Paw, right? If you're not that great with Ito, you think Yomi's better. You guys can switch these around. It's like completely fine. The next one on the list is going to be Hiei. Hiei is a fantastic fruit. Recently got a buff. Movement skill is fantastic. It's faster than Striker with Mara. Like super cool. The stuns of this fruit's fantastic. Super big range AoE. Definitely super combo food, like heavy. Like very good when it comes down to like the optimized users of Hiei is like almost impossible to beat. Like those optimized users are very strong. But the problem is it does not perform as well in PvE. It still can perform. Like for instance, you can freeze the boss and you guys can do those kind of things, but it doesn't perform that well overall against those against like bosses and stuff. It's pretty good when you're in a group setting. That's why it's like near the top of the great list, not at the bottom. But yeah, so Hiei definitely placed here. It would be higher if there was more of like a PvE style orientation for the fruit. But the problem is it doesn't do a lot of damage alone. You have to rely heavily on weapons. You have to rely heavily on fighting styles. And that's why, for instance, like something like Ito, for instance, you can put a lot of points into Ito and do a lot of damage. Same thing with Yomi. You can do a lot of damage with the fruit. But the problem is, if you're optimizing the fruit, you're using a lot of swords. Like you're using like 400, 500, 600 sword. You know what I mean? Like you're using a lot of sword or a lot of fighting style. Now the next one on the list is Suna. Now, Suna's actually one that I had a little bit of a hard time placing here. Suna could probably maybe go to excellent tier. The reason why I put Suna down here is because I'm not actually confident in its abilities to always do PvE, though I might change it at the end of this list. I'm not sure, but it's good at PvP. It's good at PvP, but the thing is with Suna, it's in the great category because it's good at PvP and it's good at PvE. It's just not great at either one of them. So it's in that like weird limbo where like all of these fruits easily are fruits that have something specifically going for them, orientating around PvP, the PvP aspect of the game. Whereas like Suna is both good at PvP and good at PvE. It's good. It's not fantastic, right? So That's why I think like it doesn't excel in both categories, so that's why I didn't put it up here. But yeah, the next one on the list is Goro. So Goro could be argued to be lower. I just think that Goro users have something that having that teleport and that stun, like it has the Ito stun, or like the Ito grab pretty much, but within a stun. It is nerfed. It is nerfed, so maybe actually it is down here. It does decently well when it comes down to PvE, but the problem is you're never going to solo dungeons with it, right? It does not have a fly. It lacks in mobility, so it's kind of hard to say that this fruit is the fruit to pick up. But it does have an excellent PvP game, like an excellent PvP game. So much so that like you could put it over here, or you could put it over here. When it comes down to it, I think that like Goro in general has such a high ceiling for its PvP that it makes it excel above like a lot of the other fruits. But again, the problem is with Goro, it doesn't have a movement skill. It's not as great in PvE settings. I think it's better than Hiei in the in PvE settings, because Hiei requires you to be on the ground, whereas Goro you can kind of hit your stuff and then kind of like back up. Now, if Goro ever got a flying skill, I think that would make honestly the PvE experience a lot easier. It would make the free roaming experience a lot better. Maybe when it comes down to it, maybe we can put it like here, just because it doesn't have a mobility skill. But in general, I think Goro is a fantastic fruit, though it's not in the excellent category. Now, the next one will be in excellent. So Zushi. Okay, you guys are gonna freak out. I get it. Don't freak out. Do not freak out. But there is no denying that Zushi is a fantastic fruit when it comes down to PvP, right? It's a fantastic fruit when it comes down to PvP. And also the meteor shower that it does, very good in dungeons, very good Kraken farming, very good ship farming, right? That crosses off all our categories. Zushi's a fantastic fruit. Like in general, like it's a fantastic fruit. It's cheap. So if you're talking about like how to get a fruit, like for instance, getting Goro or getting Paw, getting Suna, getting Hiei, you need multiple, like a lot more value than Zushi. Zushi has been like the baseline forever. Maybe Yomi's below it now. But yeah, Zushi's just a generally really good fruit. It's high stamina cost, so make sure that you guys have your items equipped for stamina. But very good for ship farming, very good for Kraken farming, very good for PvP, very good for dungeons. All of which are extraordinarily good when it comes down to like evaluating a fruit as a whole. So that's why I think Zushi is another one up here. Now the next one on the list is Gura. Gura's in the exact same place as Zushi, actually. Gura is the same value pretty much as Zushi. It has an extraordinarily good ship farming capability. It's really good in dungeons, especially when it comes down to like team-orientated fights. Gura is fantastic, absolutely, in team-orientated fights. Your Tsunami helps when you do Krakens. Your Tsunami helps when you do ship farming. All of these things are super, super viable. Problem with this fruit a little bit is that you have to get close for like the grab and stuff like that. But in general, this fruit performs well on both bases. So when it comes down to a fruit that's like, I would like these are like, think of this list as you're recommending people fruits to get that are both good in PvP and PvE, right? So like imagine that setting and you're giving this to new players. This is why I would recommend these fruits. Also, they're very easy to get. Both of these fruits are very, very easy to get. It's very, very clear that these fruits are good in PvP and PvE, so getting them comfortable with a fruit that's both good in both settings is a very big benefit for new players, as well as just like returning old players who want to pick up a new fruit or another fruit. Now, the last one here, or not the last one here, rather. Next one here is Kage. Kage is a fantastic fruit. Honestly, Kage is one of those fruits that like might even go in overall best fruits. I'll see after I'm done this. But Kage is fantastic in PvE. You literally summon your guy. You summon your shadow, and then he fights and does a bunch of combos and stuff, and you do a bunch of combos. So it's like every boss is at least 2v1. It immediately makes the bosses that much easier. It makes any bosses in the game immediately 50% easier to beat, which makes this fruit fantastic in PvE. Honestly, I think it probably goes into the overall best fruits, to be honest with you. Now, in general, what's good about Kage too is its PvP game. You apply that exact same rule to Kage. When you're fighting somebody, what do? You summon your shadow and then you attack them. Your opponent immediately has to worry about two threats. However, again, when it comes down to it, you're providing something that, for instance, other people are having a hard time dealing with. Something specific. Kage is providing something that other fruits aren't, where it's making any challenge at least 50% easier. Now, it's not easy on your stamina. However, somebody having to fight two people instead of one person also makes this challenge, any challenge that a Kage user faces, that much easier. And that's why I think it's one of the best fruits in the entire game. I initially had it at excellent. Maybe it stays in excellent. I'm not sure. I'll move stuff around at the very end here. Kage does well ship farming. It does well probably in dungeons, I'd imagine. And it might not do that great in Krakens, but it also has a movement skill. So it's probably in one of the overall best fruits in the game. Though I know people have said they regretted it. I don't know. We'll see. Nonetheless, the next one in this category is Pika. Pika could be in the best overall fruits. My only problem with Pika is it's not as excellent in PvP as it is in PvE. It's one of the best grinding fruits in the entire game when it comes down to PvP. Like, best two, maybe three fruits in the game for PvP, right? Issue, obviously, is that when it comes down to PvP, the factor that you have to consider is everything is blockable with Pika. Everything is blockable. So, barring that one move. And when you look at other fruits, right? Block breaks, stuns, block breaks. Like, there's so many block breaks, right? And stuns that other fruits have over it that makes me want to think Pika is actually in the excellent category rather than the best overall fruits. And I might be off when I'm saying this. You guys can switch these back and forth if you guys want, but I really think Pika at the end of the day is probably an excellent instead of overall best fruits. The next one on the list is Tori. Now, in my other trade video, in update 4.9, I had put Tori as one of the best fruits in the game. My understanding of Tori is that Tori is very good in PvP, very good in PvE, as well as just generally fun to use when you're flying around, right? Good for mobility, good for Krakens, good for dungeons, good for PvP if you're good enough with it. I think it lacks a little bit on PvP. However, it's also going to be getting an update, right? So when it gets a rework, this fruit's going to be probably one of the best fruits in the game. So maybe that's how the list looks. All right, moving forward. So next is I think Mara. I think Mara's one of the best fruits in the game. Like, I think it's the overall best fruit when it comes down to everything. Like, I think generally that was like my consensus before, and I still think that's true. You can fly, you can solo dungeons, good for Krakens, good for general, like, ease of, like, flying and stuff. Not that hard to get, though it's in demand right now. Good for ship farming, good for PvP, very easy for PvP, so if you're a new player, this is a fruit that definitely try to get. But yeah, just an overall good fruit. Next one is Magu. I think Magu is actually behind Mara. Magu has everything that Mara has, but it's also a water walker, but also it doesn't fly. So, like, you could, like, switch these around, but I think Mara is just, like, the better fruit when it comes down to, like, overall everything. Magu's way better in PvP, but Mara just feels a lot more comfortable as a PvE player, so these two can definitely be switched around. And last but not least, Mochi. Mochi's incredible. Dungeons, PvP, ship farming, Krakens, movement ability, what is that called? Future Sight. Literally has everything in the game. Literally everything in the game and more. So that's generally where I think that fruit lies. Yep. But anyways, what do you guys think? Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? Again, these are all my fruits that I think. All of these ones are trash. These ones are mid. Try to avoid these. Give these to new players. If you can get your hands on these and you are more of a PvP player, definitely try to pick those up. If you're more of a PvE player, but you also want to do PvP, pick one of these 2 fruits up. And the overall best fruits in the game are these 6 fruits. I know there's 6 of them. I think things will change over time as the meta develops. But anyways, what do you guys think? Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you, and have yourselves a wonderful day. Thank you guys so much for all the support, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye. If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube channel, but also come follow us on Twitch. We stream Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. EST every day for about 6 to 12 hours. I'd love to see you there.